Good evening. This is Rhonda from Hamden Action Now. We're streaming live, and we have tonight the Hamden DTC members of our platform committee, which are totally awesome and rocking. We're actually going live on various platforms tonight. We're going to be on YouTube, Hamden Action Now's YouTube channel, as well as Urban Concepts, Bridgeport Action Now, and the Hamden Democrats. So let's hear about this cutting edge thing that we did to actually have a platform and make folks come in and subscribe and let's see if they can get on board with our platform before we actually give them our endorsement. We'll be right back in a few.
Let's go! Ho, ho!
Hey, hey.
Hello, Rhonda.
How's it going? How's it going, Hamden DTC? That's us, right?
Yeah.
That's us.
How you doing? We're going to talk about our platform tonight, since that seemed to be such a, I didn't think it was a big deal. I thought it was like normal. You know, if you're a Democratic Town Committee, there's a whole lot of issues going on in our community. So which ones are the most important to us? It's pretty, but I was shocked that we never had one before. That was a little shocking, right?
And most municipalities do not have a platform. So it is quite groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
And I'll say that the little bit of pushback that we got on it, I actually take as sort of a, letting a reconfirmation that what we were doing is important.
Right. So, I mean, that's what do you guys want to, what's the highlight? I mean, I know that, voter suppression is one of the highlights that we want to make sure that we don't do here in Hamden. And I also know that, the police accountability is another issue. So yeah, you guys.
No, so I was thinking, I'm not sure like who's all in the audience, but I think Sean and Lauren, it'd be great for you to kind of tell us like how did we come about this? Like, and I know Lauren was one of the committee heads for this, but like, for the people who don't know, I think it'll kind of lay a little context so they can.
All right, so let me start.
You guys just decided one day we were just gonna have a platform.
How did it come up?
So I'll start from the perspective of, as chair of the DTC, and then where we created the issues committee, then I'll pass it off from there. So, when many of us were running for the DTC, I don't think for any of us it was really about, power or just gaining a position. It was because we saw issues that we felt needed to be addressed in our community and in our state, and it motivated us. Many of us, have very busy lives, but this was important to us. This motivated us, and so we wanted, if we were going to do this, if we were going to take this on, we wanted to make sure, and this was just through countless discussions, even before we actually got onto the DTC, that if we were to do this, if we were going to, seize the reins of the DTC, that it was going to be for the right reasons, that we were going to make changes that we thought were important. And one of those were that we wanted our values to be front and center in everything we did. We wanted not just sort of a passive recognition of problems, but sort of intentionality in how we were going to go about addressing those problems. And the first step was, to figure out, okay, collectively, what are our values? And so we formed the issues committee. We had we had co-chairs of that, Alexa Peniatakis, who's not here, and Lauren Garrett. And it was slightly unusual to have Lauren as a co-chair of the issues committee because she's not a current member of the DTC, but it was also important to what we wanted to do because this isn't just about the 63 members of the DTC. this is about the broader community and, and specifically the broader community of Democrats, but also the broader community in Hamden and the state as well. And so really, we try to open the doors to anyone that wants to make a difference, regardless of whether they're actually, a member of the DTC or not. And so we pass it off to Lauren. Take it away.
So I actually have heard from people over the years, we should get more young people, more active Democrats on the DTC and create a platform. So this is something that I've heard for a few years. And, a lot of us on the DTC ran on transparency and accountability. And if we're going to hold those values, we have to make sure that we're transparent about our values. And then the way to hold people accountable is by putting our values on paper so that we all can look at that and see how politicians are living up to what they say they're going to do and what we expect out of Democrats.
Right, because I mean, thinking about who we are and what our identity is as Democrats, we don't want to just be the party that's not Trump. We had to think about what is our vision for improving the lives of everyday people. And so I think the platform was an important part of, establishing that vision. And then to Lauren, to your point, allowing people to hold us and our other elected officials accountable to living up to it.
Yeah, and what I appreciated about the platform being on the committee was it was an opportunity to bring different voices, different perspectives. I can tell you at times when we were in those sessions, it was interesting to hear other people's perspective, sometimes not necessarily my own. So I think what was good about it was that it brought everybody's voices, different perspectives to the table. And I like the way it's structured in terms of, we start with that aspirational goal, like, hey, this is how we like to see it, right? And then we kind of identify what those problems are and then start talking about what opportunities, some things that we think are important ways to fix it. So I think that the way that the committee came up with that structure really, really worked.
So how long did it take? Because I always wondered, I wasn't a part of that committee. And like, again, in our town, we have so many needs. Our budget, we could start there. And then we have, the crime, which, we see all over Facebook. So, how long did it take you guys to deliberate? Was it a month, a couple of weeks, or several months? I think it probably would take several months to do that, right?
Yeah, so we started by putting out a survey for the DTC, and that was over the summer. I think we sent it out in June and then received responses until maybe mid-August, I think it was. And then from, I'd say beginning of September through December, we were feverishly writing, meeting, once every 2 weeks for hours. We would have meetings that started at 8 and often went to 11 o'clock at night. So this was certainly, probably around 100 hours in the making.
So why do we think other town committees, even the Republicans, like, wouldn't you want to have something specific to hang your hat on as a political party with values? Like, why is that so taboo? Because my argument is that my thought has always been the town committees are just basically, it's all done on a handshake. I know this person, I know that person, so I just get the row A. But that's like, you don't even know, like, you're talking about a policymaker, a town council member, a board of ed, a mayor. So how, like, without it, I don't even know how, you could operate without it.
Yeah. I'll say that it's one thing that is really great is that, the level of interest of the DTC members is such that if as chair, if I attempted to just make decisions behind closed doors on my own, I would not be. And that's a great thing, right? And actually it makes my job easier because I don't have to try to do that. I simply want to facilitate a discussion amongst DTC members so we can try to get as close to a consensus, but if we can't, then still we move forward and make decisions as a body. And I think that that's very uncomfortable for a lot of DTCs, but in many of them, as was discussed when we were voting on this, I think for many, they see the DTC as just a fundraiser, but also our sort of official duty as nominating candidates, and that's it. But of course, there's so much that goes into nominating candidates. How do you choose candidates? And
right.
And it's not, when you start to think about it, if this platform and then things we're going to do now in terms of, candidate questionnaires and all that, that is our process for doing our primary duty of choosing candidates.
Right. And when I think about it, it's like, okay, at least for me, being on the DTC is, I didn't come here, I'm not here just to say, okay, I'm a part of the DTC and I'm, treasurer of the DTC. All those things are fine, but I came here to be in a position to elect people or to, to be able to, get people in positions so that they can do the work to help the people, right? Like, I mean, that's what we're here for. It's for us to facilitate or bring in leadership or help bring in leadership that's going to change the communities that we serve.
Right.
That's why I'm here. So that's why I think that the platform is really important, because you have to understand, like you said, what are your values? What do we stand for? What are we looking to see in our candidates that are going to help the community that we serve? How do we bring the Democrats along, right?
Right.
You want to know that you stand for something and that you're really doing something that's going to better the community.
And
I think also like a platform is like a roadmap.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
okay, here's the roadmap. Here's our problems. Here's the roadmap. And are you okay, candidate A, with getting from A to B in this roadmap? And if not, then we'll go to candidate B or candidate C. You know what I mean? It's got to, you have to have like an organizational chart of here's our issues. But if they come in and their issues are, not that I'm saying it's not, a priority, the environment. Well, yeah, we know we have an environmental issue, but we also have a budget issue. We have a policing issue. We have an education issue. We have SROs in the schools. You know what I'm saying? So we have other issues. So what do you fall on these in addition to that?
Well, that's why the budget issue is a perfect example of why we need a clearly articulated set of values. Because in the context of the Hamden's financial situation, we're going to be having to make really tough decisions. And I prefer that those decisions to be made, guided with underlying core values, right? And when you have to kind of make really tough decisions, you want that to be based on something that our vision for our town and who are we protecting, and what services are most vital. So the financial situation is a perfect example of why we have to move away from nominating folks based on who we know. Mm-hmm. And who can give us what and put us on what committee and pave my street. Like that is not going to get. That's not going to get the town moved.
Which happens.
That happens. Yes.
It literally happens.
Like I said. And folks get these certain positions and seats and things, and it's like, how did you select those people? Like, where did they come from?
Yeah. But I'll say it's already bearing fruit a little bit. Because in Hamden, we've had a really unfortunate year in that we've lost 2 members of the legislative council that passed away. And so we've had to go through a process of recommending people to the council for their replacement. And in each situation. Yeah, look, of course, there's always still conversations that aren't public, but at the end of the day, every member of these districts were heavily involved and had meetings, and there was intentionality of finding people that would kind of move things forward and were not part of some old political apparatus, So,
right.
If you look at Adrian, and if you look at Duran, neither one of them have been, they've certainly been involved in the wider community, but neither one has been involved in Hamden politics specifically. And so, already we're seeing, I think, the results of thinking about things a little bit differently there.
I think that also my goal of coming on to the DTC, even running for town council in 2019, was to get younger people involved. Young Black, Brown, Indigenous, whoever can get involved, because I think that's why our voting, is so low. Besides the fact that we have really suppressive voting things and practices in Connecticut. But I think that they don't get involved. They go to a meeting and everybody, like, the mean age is like 75.
Right.
They just don't feel connected. No offense, but I'm just saying we need the whole spectrum of the electorate to be involved in and how our communities run, how our education systems run. And it just seems like it's been such an exclusive club, and that's where it's always been. Right. Not just here in Hamden, just everywhere. And I just think that, there's so much happened. 2020 was just packed with issues that are bringing people out of the shadows and into politics. And because we saw elections matter. Did we learn a lesson the hard way about elections mattering in 2020 or what? Everybody didn't understand that your public health depends on who is sitting in the mayor's office and who's on the town council and who our governor is, and who our Congress people are, and who our president is. Your own personal safety and health depends on who we put in these positions. And it can't be just about politics. It's got to be about, a value, something that you believe that is personally valuable to you.
So for a long
politician,
for a long time, being on the DTC, and this is probably true of DTCs, all over the state, all over the country. You got on the DTC because either you wanted a job or a contract, or you had a family member who wanted a job or a contract.
That's right.
And DTCs are very often majority white. That was the case in Hamden and through the country. And then you would look into the municipality and the people who are getting jobs in the municipality. And it was by and large white people. So now, one of the things that we put in our platform was making sure that we have a plan to hire people of color, Black and brown people, that we have pathways for people who are Black and brown to get these jobs from, Hamden High School, so that we're hiring people in our community who look like our community. So by having a DTC that has more Black and brown people on it, and being very intentional about the way that this platform is written, we now have the opportunity to bring change to Hamden that actually brings opportunity to the Black and brown people of Hamden.
And everybody benefits, right? It's like, hey, it's inclusive, including all the diversity of age and gender and all of that, right? It benefits the community. That's how the town thrives, by including all of these people.
That's
right?
where exactly, Karima, that's where my mind went, which is that having different lived experiences at the table for any decision makes that decision better. Yeah. Makes that, the way you described the process in the committee was really challenging at times because of that diversity of perspective. And I think as hard and challenging as it was, that ultimately made the product better. And that's true for any group, making any kind of decisions, is that, the more diversity that we have, the ultimate products are going to be better.
And it's not always easy, right? I mean, I think that's the part. Like, it's not easy, right? But it's necessary. It's the necessary work that we have to do.
Right. It would have been a lot easier for the chairs to write a platform and say, "You guys agree?"
Here we go.
Right. And that's not what we did. That's decidedly not what we did. And you know, so that work is valuable. And, you know, I learned a lot from going through that process. And I, you know, benefited from hearing what other people had to say, even if it was really different than, you know, where I came in, you know, what I came in thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, we're a blue state, or blue town. You know, we should at least have something written down that reflects being a Democrat and being a Dem, and being proud and also being proudly blue. And one of the biggest values of being a blue town or being a part of the Democratic Party is that it should be a big tent and all inclusive. And you know, it's just so funny and political, and like Sean, I'm not too sure, I can't remember the word you used earlier, but that the way that these groups were originally set up, where it's just this culture of old white men, they run it, you know, no admittance, you know, and it's like I said, all of it. I mean, I know some people in their state, they're like, we don't even know where the meetings are. Nobody's telling anybody. They don't know how to, you know, I mean, like, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, just to call your elected officials and make them tell you,
right?
You know, I mean, because that is a teaching that people need to know. You know, we all exercise our rights to go to the polls to vote. You know, I do it every year religiously since 1986. But who are those people on that ballot? You know, all you see is a whole bunch of names. And then in 2014, they put the question on there about, you know, opening up, you know, changing the state of Connecticut Constitution so that we can have early voting and no education. Nobody even knew what to look for. And I just think that we have to lead the way in Hamden to really educate people on what they're looking at, what they're looking for, what questions to ask. And I think the platform starts that conversation.
Yeah, and I think it's an honor. Like, I think it's an honor to be a part of the DTC at this time. I think, you know, the platform and some of the documents, you know, that we're coming up with, code of conduct and bylaws and all these things to help you operate and function really well. You know, that we're doing that work, and I look forward to, you know, bringing more. To me, I just want to see us bring more Dems into the fold, more people into the fold, more voters, not just the people that have been showing up. Where are the people that are not engaged? Like that engagement is truly important, because that's how, you know, again, that's how we get things done, by including all of the community members in the fold.
Totally. I mean, and that's the whole point. I mean, again, I'm trying to get people to come on the DTC and watch our meetings on our Facebook page and get everybody involved, because, you know, this is how our community is supposed to run, with everybody who is eligible to vote, goes out, selects leadership, and they then follow up. You know, your job is not over when you fill out that ballot. All right, I'm good. I'll see you in 2 years. No, you're not good.
Right.
You're not good. Are you okay, so do you not have to pay any taxes for the next 2 years? No, you're paying taxes, so you're not good. Come back. We need to talk, you know? And even if they have questions, you know, if they have any kind of questions, or even if they disagree, we got to learn, you know, we have to kind of learn how to be okay with people disagreeing with us. It's like, we don't want to just go off on everybody.
And taking a stand. I know that, you know, before I was on the DTC, I used to come and sit, and, you know, big things were happening in our town, in our state, in our country. And I would watch and feel frustrated by the fact that it wouldn't get mentioned, you know. And so, you know, really important events and painful events were happening in our town that I didn't see, you know, my Democratic leaders, I didn't see them taking a stand on it, and I did not feel well represented. And so I've been I agree with Karima, you know, I feel proud to be here now, because I think it's such an active DTC that is willing to put itself out there. We, in terms of, if something's going on that is inconsistent with our values, we want to let people know that. So I'm proud of being a part of that.
And seeing, last night, one of our state central members there, Carol Goldberg, who lives in Bethany, and she has made similar comments before, but it's always gratifying to see it through the eyes of someone who is kind of watching Hamden, but is not actually a resident of Hamden, and how much she enjoys coming to our meetings because they're so meaningful, because we're doing things.
Yeah. And again, I'll say, I don't think we said it. We'll just put it out there. The platform isn't 100% perfect, right? Like when we're taking a position, I think there's opportunity. Still things that I think we probably want to add that the next time, or make adjustments. But it's a start, and it's a great start, right? But I think, I think we put in there, it's the living document, right? So we will make those changes if needed.
That's totally cool.
And we're starting on the 21st of this month to talk about a state platform. So those voting rights are absolutely going to be in there. We're going to be talking about healthcare. We're going to be talking about legalization. We have plenty of topics to
taxation.
Taxation is
I'm so glad you said that there's going to be a state platform, because I already started a list of things that I'd like to see with the voting things being changed. I'll be happy to share that Google Doc with you. There's like 22 items on there. If you think about how to really open up, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, there was that article in the New Haven Independent about the platform, and it was a great article. And if anyone hadn't read it, they should go ahead and read that. But the reporter went and asked some other folks outside of Hamden, what they think of platforms and that kind of thing. And they talked to the chair of the New Haven DTC, Morrow. And he talked about how their platform was kind of more focused on national or bigger issues. And also I was thinking when I read that, which was totally fine, right? And in fact, we were inspired by the New Haven platform. We were aware that they had created a platform. We thought, gee, why don't we do that? And but all I could think when I read that was just, don't worry, it's coming. We're just getting warmed up.
And really, that was always the intention, because when the survey went out to the DTC members, there was a section on municipal issues, and then right after that was a section on state and national issues. So that has always been our goal, to produce a municipal platform and then a state and national related platform. So it's coming right up, and we're going to hope to make everybody proud again.
Yeah,
we look
it's
forward,
always been our
look forward to the 50 hours of those hours we're going to put in. And I can't wait to do.
And it has always been our goal to go bigger, and I would say that's something I've learned in the past 5 years that I've been more intimately involved. Can people still see me?
Yes.
There we go. The past 5 years I've been more intimately involved in politics, is that actually it's really the local level that you can have a massive impact on, your neighbors, on your school, on your community. And so, I don't want to underestimate the importance of that.
Isn't that something? How people will just focus on the national politics, but okay, so we all pay income tax, and federal, they take it out of my paycheck, and that's how we pay for them. But we actually have to physically write a check to the folks here, but we don't focus on that at all. We're it's you have to, if your mortgage company, whatever, but I'm just saying, you physically write these people a check. So I have to see them, and I need you to tell me when is my street getting paved? When am I getting plowed? You're not going to call DC to ask for a plow. You know what I'm saying? You know, you can't call down there and say you have an issue with the medical coverage and, Medicare for all and things like that. I mean, you can. I mean, you can call our Congress people, and that'll be, you can do that. But you can get, Chief Sullivan on the phone a lot quicker, about the problem with the policing than you can talking to our congressional folks, because they're they're like from 30,000 feet. They're way up there. They're looking for big time policy, federal money, federal spending. This is that's important. But then when it trickles down here, then what happens?
Right.
We got it. Everybody doesn't understand this municipal is very important. Find out about the Board of Ed. What's happening with school? What are they teaching them? Y'all remember the slave play?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, it was this time last year.
I used to always hear that when people would refer to local politics, right? There's an old saying that there's not a Democratic or a Republican way to pick up garbage, right? And but what we've learned is that that actually even that, right? There is something values in terms of who we try to contract with and how we do things there and what we choose to recycle, right? But so even that's not true.
No.
But even leaving that aside, if we have an issue with the way policing works, well, typically we're not talking about the state police. We're talking about local police.
Right.
And if we have an issue with how our children are being educated, and whether we want SROs, for instance, in schools, yes, it would be nice if there was good legislation at the state or federal level, but we can do all those things right here. We can take care of everything right here in our own community, as far as education policy goes. And so those are big, huge issues. And, even if we don't frame it in terms of Democratic or Republican values, but there are values. There are values that come heavily into play here.
Definitely. So I'm really excited. I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Megan.
It matters, you're thinking about, your kids and they're shaping their ideas of the world and what they're going to be prepared to, what kind of world they're going to be prepared to go in. And it matters if they go to segregated schools and they live in segregated neighborhoods. Right. I mean, it matters. I mean, I think it's probably one of the most important things in shaping our kids and our future. So I think I used to be guilty of what you were saying, Rhonda, of, I was very aware of what was happening at the national, and I thought local was kind of maybe boring or like too in the weeds. And now I'm like, I can't get enough, right? Because, this is really where the action is, and it affects people's real lives day to day, having strong communities, having strong neighborhoods, having, good schools, what do we even mean by that? And it's all at the local level.
Yep, that's what they say. All politics are local, right? So This is why, getting involved in your local government. I mean, it's accessible, and I think that's what people, if you're watching, and listening to this conversation, and you're sitting there and you're thinking about, okay, what. How do I get involved? What can I do? You can do a lot locally. You can get involved. You can go to Hamden, .gov, with the exact website, but you can look up the Board of Ed and look up how do you get involved. When are DTC meetings happening? Like, that's like your voice. You can use that voice right now, today, in this moment, to get things done locally. So
it always breaks my heart when, folks are like trying to, we can't find enough people to join this commission or that commission or this committee. And I'm just like, why not? Where are these people? We need them. I mean, they're here. They send their kids to the school. We see them at the grocery store.
You see them running things, Rhonda, too. You see them running PTAs and running, other nonprofits who are involved. They're out there. I think we just need to make the connection of the talent that's happening in town and say, hey, have you considered, here's another way to get involved. So to your point, they're out there.
But it's about,
and I think that you have to also.
It's about
Right.
making
Like,
it
that's-
seem as if everybody has a role and a place, and not
That's
making
right.
it seem like Sean was saying about, I have to know somebody who knows somebody. I have to be in the club. It's up to us, I think, to make it really inclusive and, get the information out there. And like you said, Karima, tap people who are already leaders in their communities in lots of other ways.
Right.
And
I agree.
The only thing I would add is, as I was listening to Karima talk about, getting involved at the local level, I was remembering how, when we feel powerless over the big stuff that's happening nationally, the big policies, and we just feel devastated that, getting involved at the local level for me, it was a massively important way of reversing that sense of powerlessness. It's
Yes.
just like, you can make a difference and you can really see the fruits of your labor if you roll up your sleeves and get involved in your neighborhood.
Right. So I want to just make sure whoever's watching and all of our viewers that we did put in the chat the link to the Hamden DTC approved platform. I think we're really proud of it. I think it was really well thought out. It's a real thoughtful document. And that's really what you want. I mean, I could write policy all day long, but if I am mentally and emotionally detached from it, which is what we see a lot of, then who does it help? It doesn't help anybody. That one, our platform, I think, is very thoughtful. And I think, as you said, Karima, it's going to evolve because our town evolves, the times change, and things are going to be, other items are going to become equally as important. And, we might have to rearrange some of the priorities, but we have to have it in writing so candidates know whether they should even give it a shot or not.
Yeah, and I would say that so we are we'll be posting about this shortly, but we are officially opening up the doors to we're hiring notices out there for anyone interested in running for office, and we don't want. I would love to see folks that I've never met before reach out and say interested in this. And I'll say that Dron Olson. Yes, I've of course spoken with him, and it's partly just because of the year that we're living in. But I've never met him in person. But I love that, right? And but I would just hope that anyone, and there's going to be about 20 positions in total that will be either from the district level or the whole DTC level that will be nominating in July, and I would hope anyone that is interested in seeking our party's endorsement will spend time reading this platform first.
Right.
So
it's really going to be exciting. I'm sorry, go ahead.
As we were talking about, the differences between Democrats and Republicans on the local level, this platform is about 15 pages of how Democrats have distinguished themselves at the local level. So, I just want to take a second to thank the wonderful people. Megan and Karima were on there. Nancy Hill was going to join us tonight. She was on there. There's a list. Actually, it's included in the platform. The people who gave their time and energy and thought to make the platform what it is. And I know that we wouldn't have been able to do this without all those people, because it wouldn't have gotten done if I was sending out Zoom links and nobody attended. So, it's been critically important for all the people who have contributed to it. And I think that because of the document that we created, we're all just excited to do it again for the state platform.
Yeah.
So let me just, because I love to, I think I want to give credit to everyone who participated in this. Since you referenced that, I'll just go ahead and take a second and read all of the names of the people that spent all of those countless hours. And I know that there were some really tough conversations that took place. So I have Scott Beck, Kyle Blake, Lane Dove, Megan Goslin, Nancy Hill, Shakira Hobby, Diane Hoffman, Katie Kiley, Grima Mickens-Weber, Brian Murphy, Alexa Piniatakis, Danielle Chapman, Sarah Clark, Phil Cronin, Jay Foreman, Lauren Garrett, Marissa Dion Mead, Carmen Parker, Betsy Rosenblum, and Deborah Smith. That last group, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like 8 non-DTC members, Democrats.
Well, let me just say this: to have a crew that large, and you guys actually got stuff done, and you came up with this awesome, really thoughtful document. You guys are good.
Well, Lauren is she drove very well. Lauren was a good project manager. She kept everybody on target. So,
I totally agree. And the fact that there were so many people willing to come on a Sunday night, until 11 p.m. week after, again and again and again and again. It speaks to there's a lot of energy in our town. Our town, Hamden, is awesome. There are so many people with skills and talent and passion, and people are just hungry to get out there and be helpful to their town. So I found it really just an invigorating process during what was a really hard and is a hard year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that just the time came that we just have had enough, and we just didn't have. I just think without a platform, you have so much gray area, and right now we don't need gray area. We need to know exactly what we're doing, why we're doing it, and who's going to be able to lead us that direction. And this election cycle, I know it's November, sounds like it's a long time away, but it's right around the corner.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner. So I can't. Now, what date did you say, Sean? Are we opening up the doors for candidates?
I'm going to be posting it shortly. So we have the questionnaire. Interestingly, after last night's meeting, and this is always the way these things are, I got some additional suggestions on reworking a couple of questions. So I'm going to work on that, and because I think they were actually good suggestions, and so and which is why I wanted it to, I wanted to allow for some change on there. And so now that when finally it's like, okay, we're ready to go, it's like, hey, is it too late? So I had a very long, detailed email last night, but it was very well intentioned and actually had some great feedback. So I'm going to retool things a little bit, and then I'll do a post and invite anyone interested in going through this process and meeting DTC members to reach out and get a questionnaire.
Are they going to, okay, so let's say I want to be a candidate. Would I have to go before this committee, or do you just get the questionnaire and that's it?
No, you're going to, so the process that I see it, and everything can change, but the way I see it happening is a candidate wants to run for Board of Ed. They ask for a Board of Ed questionnaire. They fill it out and answer it in any way really want to answer it, and they send it back in, because really how someone interacts with the questionnaire is sort of says so there's no real instructions, right? They can do charts and graphs or not, however they want to do it, right? And I'm kind of curious to see actually how people interact with it. And when they send it back in, then we'll distribute that to the DTC members, and we'll schedule a standalone Zoom meeting. And if we have a few candidates, maybe we'll take them in one at a time, but it's not going to be a debate kind of thing. It would be more any DTC members who want to participate in the Zoom, because, look, candidates sometimes make calls, but for some DTC members, that process is a bit uncomfortable, particularly if you want to ask some pointed questions or at least want to hear answers to pointed questions. Sometimes that process of a phone call is a little intimidating. And actually, for some really good candidates, that process may be a little intimidating. And so it works both ways. This is kind of just opening it up. These are not, these are, because ultimately it's DTC members that are going to make these decisions. So it's, we're not going to live stream these, but any DTC member that wants to participate, in these Zooms, and they could ask anything they want. We'll do that one at a time, and we'll see where it goes from there. And my hope is that, and then after that, I if there ends up being multiple candidates, more candidates than there are positions for any particular position, that we'll do essentially a survey And of course, the vote takes place at the convention. But survey is actually potentially good for everyone. It's not something we're going to put out, anything like that, but it's potentially good for everyone because candidates and the DTC members, because if you see, long enough in advance that, gee, everyone wants to support you for a position, or maybe they don't, maybe you seek another position, or make, as a candidate, you get to make decisions that way based on something.
Right. So, so what happens is that between the time that you open up the pool to folks to come in and get the questionnaire and submit it and resubmit it back to the DTC, are you gonna have like a closing period? The convention happens, and then is it like?
Yeah,
2 weeks
it's
before
going to
the
be
convention?
rolling a little bit, because there may be some candidates obviously there is an election calendar, and that calendar always, we can't control that. That calendar is what it is.
No.
It will be, in July. There's a range of dates, but most likely, the last week of July we'll have our convention. And,
Okay.
I know probably the date, but we just haven't settled on it yet officially.
Okay.
But really, if a candidate wants to throw their name in, kind of late in the game, that's okay. But of course, people start to make their decisions. We're human beings, and we start to make our decisions earlier than that. So if we've already kind of settled in on candidates, it obviously makes it harder. So I would encourage candidates that want to go through this process to, get in on the ground floor and fill out the questionnaire.
Right.
Well, and to your
Right.
point, just to underline a point that's like a meta point of why we're here tonight, which is that process is, I envision it, I haven't seen it play out yet, but what I envision it to be based on the way you're describing it, it's about vision, values, and plan, right? Like, it's not about assessing personalities and popularity and, who It's about asking people, what are your values? And then how do you see us, how are you going to bring your particular skill set and passion to kind of take those values and actualize them? And
That's right.
I hope that is how it's going to feel, because I think that would be a process that, whether you get the nomination or not, then hopefully people will feel good about a process that's driven by values.
That's right.
The only thing I makes me sad about this process this year is COVID, because right now I would be, getting ready to knock doors and, go out and engage voters. So, hopefully we'll be able to get rolling to do that soon, just to go out and, engage the voters early enough to say, are you coming out? Why didn't you come out? We didn't see you in November. It's to get people involved, especially in the Black and Brown community, in understanding politics, knowing who the candidates are. I'm going to be behind schedule this year because of this annoying pandemic, but hopefully I'll get my vaccine soon, and then that's it.
And I think it's an opportunity for us to get creative. I mean, we're going to have to leverage things like, Hamden Action Now and, putting together little forms. I think we're just going to, mailers, knocking doors. It's going to require a multifaceted approach if we're really, truly trying to engage. And like you said, we are behind schedule. So I know that, we've been talking about doing some of that work, and, we just need to execute it.
Yes.
Get it done.
That's exactly right. The pandemic has made us, and it's exhausting, but, constantly being flexible, thinking about doing old things, but in a new way. And so maybe we can think about that as an opportunity, because I know initially I was like, oh, I don't know what to do if I'm not knocking doors.
Right.
But we've learned some things that we can take even post pandemic to be, improving our outreach.
Right. Okay. So who wants the last word? Our fearless leader.
Well, Lauren, you chaired this committee, and so why don't you take it?
Sure. So we have our meeting coming up on February 21st, and I would actually like to invite any other Democrats who are interested in developing a state platform to join us. you can reach out to the DTC's Facebook page, or there is a contact form on hamdendemocrats.com. And Rhonda, I think you'd be great too. So Rhonda, I would like to personally invite you to join the Issues Committee and help us develop our platform.
Sure. All right.
And you can skip a meeting occasionally.
I definitely would love to. So, you know, all you have to do is just send me a nice little email or just put it on my calendar, because I will forget. Because I'll be like, if it's not on my calendar, it never happened. You know, so so thank you all for so much tonight to come out and talk. I mean, we're going to talk more about this. So especially as we roll out the candidate questionnaire, I want to know if we can roll that out too, Sean, so that way we can make that a public, totally transparent. We'll go live on all the pages. Right now, we're live on the Hamden Democrats page, Hamden Action Now, also on the 8th District page. So we're live on all those pages, and we want to get all these links out. So we have nothing to hide. There's no backroom deals this year. Oh, isn't this going to be cool this year? We're going to actually have a transparent election. I'm so excited.
Thank you,
I can't
Rhonda.
wait to meet all the candidates that we haven't met yet.
Yeah.
Right. I hope they're out there and they're all excited about running for office in our town. So thank you so much for coming out tonight, guys. And again, we're going to have more of these discussions. So I'm going to try to get on your guys' schedules to come out and continue to educate and have community conversations on, you know, what's happening with our committee here in Hamden, which is awesome. And I will be on that state one because I'm excited about the state one too.
Nice.
That'd be great.
All right, guys. Well, have a good night. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night.
Take care.